And nice to have you with us on a Friday afternoon as we talked about what's going on as far as the world of sports is concerned. A little earlier than normal today. Steve has a vacation day, so we'll make sure we take you home. We give Steve some time off. I believe there's a party for Alex. She had the party a couple weeks ago in Indiana, took some time off. Steve drove home, took those 2 days off, and then he took today off. I believe there's a big party up there, Harvey and the fellas up there in Tall Pines. So Steve decided, you know what? He didn't want to come in yesterday because he wanted to set up the tent outside, and I made him come in. Steve, hey, come on. You can't leave Cannell by himself. He can't do a talk show. So you have to make sure that you come in. So reluctantly, he decided to give it a shot. And then, of course, here today, he decided to, matter of fact, he called me at 11 o'clock this morning. Chris, do me a favor. I said, all right, I'll do it. So there you go from that stand. Eddie Erickson's in the house today. And, of course, our good buddy is Colin Schmeling. You know, I guess we're going to find out today if there's any listeners because, we're following Grassa and Justin Termini with that NBA radio. We are coming off a Thursday that may have been, did I have a listener? No, I know Sirius hates when I do this, but I'm sorry. Did we have a listener? I mean, I know we had Mike and we had Huck. We had Huck in Missouri, and we had one other person in that first hour, 3, and then we had about 2. I mean, it was unbelievable after a decade. And now today, we follow Dan and Justin breaking down the Kings draft pick. So we'll have an opportunity to find out what is out there early in the program. Throw in the idea that we're all that everybody, you can't lead with the Lightning and the Capitals. So from that perspective, we see where we go on this busy afternoon. All right, let's do a little potpourri here just to start. We'll probably redo this a little later on, but let's start it off this way and just to give you a little sense of what is on tap this weekend and what I think is important to watch as far as sports is concerned. Now, and I'm going to put the hockey in there too because it's important. The 2 games are important. Winnipeg tonight, you don't have to watch Game 5 if Winnipeg loses tonight. But tonight, I think, if you're into it, 8 o'clock, that's an important NHL game. Winnipeg's down 2-1. Vegas has responded in this series. They lost the first game comfortably. They came back. They outplayed Winnipeg for a large part of Game 2. They were outplayed in Game 3, but they had Fleury and they had a couple of goals at opportune times which carried them. So Vegas has responded, and now it's Winnipeg's turn. Now Winnipeg, folks, has not lost 2 in a row throughout the playoffs in 2018. They never lost 2 in a row to Nashville. They didn't lose, obviously, 2 in a row to Minnesota. They won that series in 5. And now they've lost 2 in a row. So how Winnipeg responds tonight will be very, very, very interesting. This is the game. Now, Vegas responded in Game 2, a game they had to have. And this is the game that Winnipeg has to have. So let's see what the Jets have in their gut for a Game 4 tonight. Now, they have played really well in big spots. They won Game 5 and 7 in Nashville. Season there convincingly in Game 7 the other day. But Vegas has got a lot of momentum, a lot of karma, a huge boulder on their shoulders about being unwanted by their previous teams, and they got a lot of juice in that building. So this is a tricky spot for Winnipeg. So tonight's a must-watch. And I think if you're into it, Game 5 is a must-watch tomorrow with the Capitals and the Lightning. And it's funny, in these playoffs, if you're home, it's a negative. I mean, think about it. I mean, Washington, lost the first 2 to Columbus at home, and then they won 3 games in Columbus in that first round. And in this series with the Lightning, 2 series later, there have been 4 straight wins by the visiting team. So, and then, of course, we've had a lot of visiting team wins in the Western Conference, too. Nashville won 2 in Winnipeg. Winnipeg won 3 in Nashville. So home ice does not seem to be that big a deal. So we get ready for a Game 5 tomorrow. That's a 7:15 start. Or when NBC decides to get off the horse racing to let the hockey game begin. And the hockey game will begin when NBC tells them the hockey game is going to begin. They're going to show you the Preakness, and then if the Preakness is delayed or there's wet or there's a classic or some horse gets hurt, whatever the case, they are going to examine that storyline with Justify into the cows come home, and then when they get around to it, they'll throw it to Doc Emmerich in Tampa. And that's just the way it's going to be. And the NHL is going to have to live with that. But that, obviously, Game 5 would be something significant to keep an eye on. As as would the game, as the horse race is. Now, we're going to do a couple of spots on the horse race today, but the horse race, I'm going to try to get to a television set at 6:30 tomorrow night. I'm not going to get there at 5, but I'm going to try to get to a TV set at 6:30, and I am usually one who roots for the Derby horse to lose this Preakness, so I don't have to sit there and deal with the Belmont hour upon hour. So I usually rooted for the horse to lose after he won the Derby, but for whatever the reason, this time I'm not that way. And I saw a horse that I was very impressed with there in Kentucky. Justify looked like the real deal to me, and I would think that this horse is going to win going away. Now, you never know. There's an animal. All right, this is not this is not Sandy Koufax. This is an animal. This is not a given. So we'll see what Justify's got there, but I will be in front of it. I think that's a must watch, and that is tomorrow. I don't know if the Cavaliers, I guess you got to call it a must watch. Tomorrow's a pretty good sports day when you get right down to it. You got a second leg of the Triple Crown. You got a game 5 at 2 apiece, and then you got LeBron down 2-0. So I mean, it's actually from 6:30 to 11 tomorrow night. It's not bad. From a sports perspective. And, of course, we look at that Cavalier game tomorrow against Boston. You'd think that the Cavaliers tomorrow will come out and play really well. J.R. Smith, amongst others, has said we can't let LeBron play hero ball by himself. We got to pick up our end of the bargain. So that auxiliary player, the guy that Lockery was talking about yesterday late in the show, for those of you who are with us, that auxiliary player, that's JR, that's George Hill, people like that, Jeff Green, Love's played pretty well. We're going to give him a pass. But the rest of them, Corver has his moments. The rest of them got to really pick up the pieces, and let's see how they handle it there in a game 3. Boston is 1-4 in the postseason on the road, and their one win was a gift against Philly in game 3. So you got to keep that in mind, too. You got to figure Cleveland will win that game. But that is a must-watch. I think Game 3 tomorrow with the Cavaliers, only because it's LeBron. If it was Game 3 and it wasn't LeBron and it was, somebody that was not that big a deal, I'd say no. But because LeBron's in the mix, it's a must-watch. And I think it's a must-watch the next night with Golden State and Houston. Most people think that the game the other night was a hiccup for the Warriors, and I do too. But, again, the Warriors have shown you more warts in 2018 postseason than they did in 2017. That's the best way to explain it. Last year, they swept San Antonio. They swept Utah. They won their first round easy. And then, of course, they were up 3-0 before they lost the game at Cleveland in Game 4 in Cleveland when Durant hit that shot. So, as I sneeze. So, the Warriors this year have lost 3 games already. Now, and the games they've lost have been bad. And they got blown out in New Orleans, and they got blown out in Game 2, and they lost Game 4 in San Antonio. A lot of emotion for the Spurs in that 4th game because of Aaron Popovich, but still, they did lose that game as well, and they had the whole team there except for Curry in that first series. So this would be very interesting to see how Golden State responds. Most of us think big. And then, of course, on the other side, how the Rockets respond on the road. As we've said 1,000 times, we'll say it again for you for the 1,000th time. They will show me something, the Rockets, if they win a game in Oakland. That's the bottom line. They will. If they come back here 2-2, I'll be impressed, and I can put a little star next to their season. To me, it would validate it. I got to see that first. So we'll see. So that is because of that, that is a must-watch. Earlier Sunday, depends on what happens tonight with Winnipeg, so we're going to leave that game alone. There's nothing else auxiliary unless you're wrapped up in Mark Leachman at the Byron Nelson, which I'm not. I don't know where you're going for any extracurricular sports stuff. Dodgers and Nationals this weekend. All right. But a lot of the big teams are playing bad teams. Boston's playing Baltimore, the Yankees are sitting here this weekend, and they're playing the Royals. A lot of good teams are playing nobody any good. Who's Houston playing this weekend? They are playing. We can look it up. Who are the Astros playing? But a lot of the good teams, I can tell you right now. Asking Eddie. Oh, they're playing the Indians. Well, that's decent. 3 games in Houston. That's decent. But, I mean, there's not a ton of baseball that's a must-see this weekend. It's the 2 NBA. It's a couple of NHL games if you're a big sports fan. And, of course, you throw in the Preakness on Saturday. That's where you go here. Now, again, Steve off, so we're filling in here, do the extra hour today, and we'll take you right up until later in the afternoon. It's 11 a.m. in L.A. Weather has, listen, we got much more important things to do than people moaning and groaning about the weather. And you have a lot of disasters going on. We had a bus accident in New York, a shooting in Texas. So, I mean, I don't want to make light of something silly, but would it kill anybody to have some blue skies tomorrow at about 10:30? When I hit the first tee and in the two-man Governor Cup out there at Shorehaven, where best ball the twosome, would it hurt the world if we have a nice 75-degree, not a cloud in the sky, tee off at the blue tees? Would it hurt people if that was the case? 15 after the hour, we continue. Mad Dog Unleashed.